Well, welcome Life West community to another one of our weekly podcasts. I've got something very special today that we were just chuckling about, actually laughing pretty deep about. Who I have today is actually the person who make all of these podcasts and does everything from behind the scenes. And we've brought him from behind the camera, behind the scenes, behind the microphone, or whatever you want to call it, into the front area. And I've got Shane Pilgrim. Shane, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. You may need to have a little refresh of how these work because I'm new to the whole process. Not sure.
Stop it.
Sure all
you do this all the time, man.
Yeah.
You're such a pro. And so just for our community, I want you to know that Shane is, he started off in our AV department, moved, now it's kind of melded into a media department underneath marketing. And his job has just really just kind of grown like organically. Wouldn't you say that, Shane?
Yeah, so the first year, it was all AV. It was Michael Poss and I. We were the AV team, making sure that the whole school ran efficiently, making sure that podiums worked, seminar ran correctly. And then about a year and a half ago, we merged with the marketing department under Alana Hope, the marketing director. And that's when my job roles really changed. That's when the video production side really ramped up. This podcast we started. So it really shifted about a year ago when we moved into marketing.
Well, let's talk about that because, obviously – we got a media room on campus and we can talk about the media room. I don't know if we want to give everyone directions to the media room because it's not that huge a room, but let's talk about the media room because you were the instrumental person in organizing that, in saying what equipment we needed, and because we wanted to do these podcasts, we wanted to do some filming and things like that. So share with us about that and how that grew.
Sure. So my background is very heavy in audio production, video recording, recording studios. So when I was 17, 18, I actually had right here where I'm filming right now, a home studio where I recorded local artists around here, charged them. It was very amateur, low production value, but it got me my start into audio recording. From there, I went to the University of the Pacific. And then as a student, I ended up running the recording arts program over there.
And
really proud of that.
I want to throw a tidbit in here because what people don't know is that you had a posse over there, if I can say that, right? Or a posse over. You had a team over there, right? That 3 of you or 4 of you met. Is that correct? Over at University of Pacific, who actually worked at Life West, right?
Yeah. So the reason why I even ended up at Life West was because the previous person who had my job were at University of Pacific, and we created a record label together. And also Michael Poss, who's the current AV guru god over there, he was part of it as our stage production guy. He set up all the events. And so we were all connected in this network of music production.
And you've all found your way to Life West. I mean, it's just, it's beautiful. I mean,
so that's how it happened. So we were running a record label in Oakland while he was working at Life West. When he left to become a lawyer down in San Diego, he said, "Hey, there's a vacant position you would be great for." And I said, "Hey, let me get that. I'm only recording music right now." And so he introduced me to Michael Baldwin, got the job. The rest is history.
Yeah. And by the way, let's talk about that connection because as you built, and we're talking about the media room that you built, which was incredible. It is incredible, right? And you pretty much built it with your own hands, right?
So I've built 2 studios in the past. So that podcast room was based on the experience that I had before. So even going after University of Pacific, I worked at Capitol Records, Universal Music in Hollywood, and I got to know really what recording was down there.
But let's talk about this because it's interesting because you talk about how the universe aligns things. So Joe, who was here, I know Joe, and Joe gets married. He's moving to San Diego. He's having a wedding in San Diego. And you and I are on the same airplane as you are flying down to the wedding in San Diego, correct? That's why you were going, when we were on the same flight going down and coming back, correct?
Crazy coincidence, yeah. And this is when you and I were just meeting. And so on the flight there, I was like, "Hey, I know that guy. How's it going?" And we just had a pleasant introduction of, "Hey, I know this person. I know this person as well." But then on the way back, we saw each other on the same flight. And I was like, okay, there's a room in the back of the faculty lounge that's vacant right now. I have grand ideas that I want to do. I want to make this whole media room happen because what we were doing was we were hiring a video editing, audio editing production crew to do our stuff for us. And I said, why don't we just do it all in-house? So I wanted to make that happen. So on the walk between the gate and to our cars, I had this whole speech that I wanted to give to you, and I had the opportunity. I had you right where I wanted you, had 10 minutes of your undivided attention. And I said, I want to make a podcast network for Life West because I also do podcast networks for a bunch of Silicon Valley companies. So I'm very familiar in this whole space, and you were all for it. This is something that you wanted to do as well, something that I wanted to do. And this is where all the magic happened.
And it happened. And so there are no accidents. There are no coincidences. I mean, obviously things get lined up in the universe on that level. And for everyone to know, because I mean, Shane, your voice is incredible. And when before our podcasts, before our leadership lines, that's for our listeners, this is Shane Pilgrim's voice that's on there, right? On the SunCloud network and all the things. And we're just listen. I just want to thank you because we've grown quite a bit, in our podcast, our leadership line right now that you're doing with all the video stuff. I'm telling you, I get emails, Shane, from all over the world. People who have watched that, and the numbers, of how many times it's being seen on all the different channels we put it on. It's just incredible. So I want to thank you. And we talked about the media side, right? Because that's what we're doing right now. And the thing you built in there, there's a video side also. Let's talk about what you're doing around that with the college. Because obviously with COVID and all this stuff, things have, just boomed, right? And so share with everyone, how you're working with that and what your responsibilities are.
Sure. And I was extremely, just like all of us at Life West, to have a job during this whole time. A lot of people were unfortunate enough to lose their jobs, and I was just thankful enough to have one, but not only just have one, but during this whole COVID stay-at-home period, the video requests skyrocketed because you can just imagine everything went online, everything went digital. So all the faculty needed help editing their videos. And then we were also doing the podcast, and then you started up with the leadership line videos. And so the video requests started pouring in. I had to find the groove, just like with everybody. This was a new situation, and when everybody had to adjust, I also had to adjust. Now I'm in a good rhythm going on, but it took a while to get going. But the fact is, all the videos that are coming out now are higher production than pre-COVID. So I have to say the one thing that came out of this whole situation was it allowed me to step back and really reflect on everything that I was doing at that time. I was doing way too much. I was just moving forward, head down, going straight. COVID allowed me to step back and say, what is really important? And this video side was really important because I saw the potential that it had for the college, for myself, because it's a passion project. And yeah, I'm very, very proud of the network that we built.
Yeah, and we all are. And I think our listeners need to understand that most of the videos, you and Michael probably touched on every faculty or close to every faculty, right? For the classes.
Yeah, so it was actually kind of funny. We started teaching faculty how to use iMovie so that they can do it themselves because we just got way too many requests. And Ankur Tayel, I got to hand it to him. He got so excited over learning iMovie that I sent him some YouTube links. He was on it. He would send me his project saying, hey, what do you think about this? And it was a lot of fun to see the faculty get on board with these video editing things because it was important that this content still gets out. Yeah. But there's only two people doing the video side, and I'm primarily the video guy. So it was important that the faculty learned, and I got to hand it to them. A lot of them learned this video editing software that is difficult.
Yeah, they've done great. They've done great. And Shane, there's always that saying, it takes a village, right? To raise a child, so to speak. It's not one person, and it took a village to move where we're going now. But I think that we have to acknowledge yourself, especially Michael Poss, the people in the marketing department, anyone who was, and our faculty and everybody, right, for moving forward with this and making this happen. And it really kind of just shifted the whole video mechanism, right? It's incredible.
Yeah, and it reflects on the wave that we just put on. Yeah. That was a huge endeavor. Technologically, just the team in general was working round the clock all the time trying to make this thing happen because we didn't have a model. We didn't have a template. We didn't have anything to go off of. So we had to create something out of nothing in a very short amount of time. And I got it handed to us. It went flawlessly. Everything went great. And right now I'm working on all the videos for the CE on-demand content that is going to be available to the end of the year. So if you missed out on anything with the wave, you could still see it towards the end of the year. So check out on that stuff. But it was a test of strength and will and endurance, and we did it.
You did
I'm
it.
very proud of it.
You did it. And I want to agree with you on something, because as we wrap up, you brought up the silver lining, of COVID, right? And I think that there's a lot of silver linings. And I think if we're aware enough to take a look, like you said before, you're a head down moving. This allowed you to step back, get a different perspective, see strategically where you needed to go and how you're going to do it, and find that rhythm and that groove. And you did a beautiful job, Shane. I mean, really, you still are. You're doing a beautiful job. So thank you, from all of us at the college, for all that you do, the people who are supporting you are doing. No one can see this right now, but Shane and I are actually on a Zoom call right now, even though you're just going to hear the recording, but sitting right behind Shane, and I shouldn't say sitting, but up on the wall behind Shane is a gigantic picture of Kramer from Seinfeld, and that's so cool to see him.
It's like my guardian angel right behind me.
There you go. It's part of your roots, baby. It's where you come from. So thank you, Shane. You know this better than anybody else, because you're on every single podcast, because you're always behind the scenes. Ethos of Life West: give, do, love, serve. Pick one of those words, my man, and kind of tell us, which one resonates at this particular moment for you and why.
Well, I mean, I'd be remiss to not mention serve, as the current recipient of the Serve Award that you gave me just a couple weeks ago. Really appreciate that. And like I said, I was working round the clock trying to make all these videos work. And it wasn't only just a service to the college, it was a service to myself, because the video and editing and audio editing, it's something I love to do. So you're never working a day in your life if you love what you're doing.
Yeah. And
so I really do appreciate the fact that you did give me that Serve Award, because it was just validation for all the hard work that I did. I didn't need it, but it was great to have. And so right now, Serve is just screaming in my mind.
I love it. And I want our listeners to know that it wasn't me. I presented the award, but I want our listeners to know that Shane was nominated by a ton of people. So Shane, just so you know this, I mean, because all of our faculty and our staff can write in, right? And you were nominated by a ton of people, and you so deserved it, believe me, and I know that. But it wasn't me who just said, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it to Shane. It was your peers, right? And that means even more, because that means that you're being acknowledged by the people around you, right? And they can really see the work you're doing and the effort and the energy that you're putting in. So congratulations on that. I just had the luxury of being able to deliver it, right? But
right.
I didn't, you won the Oscar, baby. It was you. I just handed you the trophy, it was right there. So Shane, thank you. Once again, I appreciate all that you're doing, and our viewers, our listeners, yeah, just at some point, I think we gotta do like a tour where our students can come by and see what the room is. I know a lot of our students who have been on our podcasts have been in the room, in the media room, but they should really see that. And we had talked a long time ago about just helping, doing something for students about how to make videos for themselves. Because with YouTube and everything else, and the way marketing goes these days, it's more about marketing yourself on social media than anything else. So I think it's something we can look at in the future, as far as you and Michael Poss and whoever else, be able to share some time with our students, to be able to show them these are some great things like iMovie and whatever else. I think it's great. So we will talk about that. And thank you for being on our podcast today. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. Can't wait to edit this one.
I know. And for all of our listeners, we just so appreciate you. We appreciate that you're part of Life West. We appreciate that you walk the halls of Life West, at least when we come back from COVID. Once again, stay safe, live your life from above down, inside out. And we will be coming at you next week with another great podcast. And Shane, I appreciate you. Thanks for being with us today.